Hey, soccer fans, this is Nick back with another episode of the Feed the Fire podcast. Thanks again for tuning in each and every week. There is actually a lot of Chicago Fire roster news as well as some bigger news in the league that's going on that we're going to talk about during this show. Before we get into all of that, I want to remind everyone to please make sure you like, subscribe, rate, review, do all that great stuff to help us improve in the ranks on those internet algorithms. Also, I just put out a few videos on the YouTube channel opening some of the 2024 Topps MLS Superstar trading cards packs. So make sure you go take a look at those. And they're a little rough. It's my first foray into opening these cards and had to get the setup a little right. But go check them out. Give me some feedback. See what you like. See what works. And then we can implement it. I've got another box of the Chrome edition that I'll be opening shortly and putting out some more content about that. So far, just as a little sneak preview, I got a couple of really unique cards. First of all, I got a Kamal Miller autograph card here. Very cool. Let me zoom it in and out of the camera there. So I know in some of the boxes you're guaranteed autographs or relics. I think those might be in some of the older seasons, but I was fortunate enough to get one here. And the other cool one, a legacy card, Wayne Rooney here. It's got a different cutout on the card. You can see how it's kind of like cut around. And there's only 5 players that they have put on legacy cards: Rooney, Zlatan, Lampard, Henry, and I am forgetting the 5th player and who it is. Was it Keane? I don't think so. I don't think they went that far back. But those are really just kind of a neat collection of cards, and it's been fun kind of seeing who they're putting on the different variations and how they're marketing. There's so many different variations of the cards that are out there. Learning a lot, opening the packs, looking up values, looking up checklists and things like that. So go make sure you check out the YouTube videos for a lot more of that content. But now let's get right into the developments with the Chicago Fire. It has been a busy few days for the club and as far as player acquisitions go. So we have a couple new defenders to talk about on today's show. Just yesterday, on the 13th, the Chicago Fire announced that they have acquired defender Sam Rogers from Norwegian second division club Lillestrøm via a transfer. And Rogers is under contract with the Fire through 2026, so you got a 2-year deal, and there's 2 years of club options. So it's potentially a 4-year deal here. We hear a quote now from Gregg Berhalter that reinforcing the backline has been a priority for us during this transfer window, and Sam will bring added competition and depth to the center back position. We're excited to have him on board and look forward to his contributions to the team. And Gregg Berhalter hit the nail on the head. I have been very worried, and I've said it on the show, that they have been so focused on building up their attack and their offense. We've heard about Zinckernagel getting the deal. We've heard about a potential deal for Gaetan Perrin, a couple of wingers. Berhalter has said, even with Perrin signing, potential signing, he still wants to bring in a designated player winger. So he is really bolstering the attack here. And I'm like, what are we going to do on the defense here? Ombserg's out of contract. Like, we've got Jonathan Dean as possibly a starter, depending on how Gutman and Gasper are doing. You know, Suke really can't cut it. Tehran wants to move overseas. Chihos is out of contract. How are we going to handle the defensive duties here? Herbers is out of contract, and he signed with CF Montreal. It's not like they could throw him at like an outside wingback position for a couple games if needed. So it's great to see that Berhalter is also recognizing it. And it's great to see that the staff that he's built out is able to address all these different things. We talked about how he runs a very corporate kind of a club. We saw that with the USMNT, some of his philosophies, and I attended a Zoom meeting with BJ Callahan through a financial investment wealth planning group that I was fortunate enough to get invited to. And Callahan even talked about how a lot of their strategies kind of are pulled from corporate management, how they approach things, how they talk about things, vocabulary and whatnot. So it's great to see that Berhalter has put in place the staff and he's able to delegate and he's able to build out things and kind of oversee this all while then also going to have to come down and start doing some of the day-to-day coaching on it. But it's great that they've been addressing both the offense and the defense. And I think that's a result of Berhalter's structure, his management, as well as him coming in with a solid plan of what this club needs and who he can bring in, because there's going to be some connections here. And we're going to get to that in just a second. So let's continue on hearing more about Sam Rogers. He's 25 years old. He's got 167 appearances across all competitions in the U.S. and Europe. Originally, he's from Seattle, Washington, turned pro with the Tacoma Defiance, formerly Seattle Sounders 2, after progressing through the Sounders Academy. He had 64 appearances for them in the USL Championship, then signed with Oklahoma City Energy in the USL Championship in 2021. Also in 2021, he joined HamKam, a club in Norway, transferred to or he was on loan in HamKam, then transferred to the club in 2022. And since then, he's played for Rosenborg, Lillestrøm, and Iceland, appearing in 47 matches for the Swedish top flight and the Norwegian top flight, excuse me. But here's the connection with Berhalter. Rogers actually has a USMNT cap. He made an appearance with the men's national team on January 29th, 2023, in a friendly against Colombia, part of the January camp, part of the kind of MLS scouting camp, if you will. And he also has 4 appearances with the U20 U.S. Youth National Team, and he was a part of the 2018 CONCACAF U20 Championship. So he has a connection with Berhalter, and so Berhalter is relying on this network of his to bring in players that can fill roles for the Chicago Fire, and also player that he scouted and brought into January camp. So someone he knows, whose skill set he knows, and probably someone he can trust to play and perform well. So just to go over the stats again, Sam Rogers, a 6'4", 190-pound defender, born May 17th, 1999 in Seattle, Washington. He's a U.S. citizen, and his latest club, Lillestrøm SK. He is now part of the Chicago Fire. No details that I've seen yet on the transfer fee, but it is nice to know that he is going to take up a domestic spot and that there's still a little bit more roster flexibility there. Now, one thing we note about Sam Rogers, again, there's not a lot of scouting on him and how well his time in USL Championship and his time in Norway's top flight. Let me make sure I clarify that he was in Norway's top flight with Rosenborg, Lillestrøm, and HamKam. How that's going to translate over to his game in Major League Soccer. But when he was playing full seasons overseas, he made a lot of appearances. He was a reliable player in that sense, not a lot of time off. So that was one thing that stood out to me when I was just kind of scrolling down some of his stats here on some of the stat websites. We also have another development on the defense that just popped up today, this morning, the 14th, that the Chicago Fire have signed Portuguese youth international defender Leonardo Barroso from Sporting CP. And here's the announcement there. Chicago Fire announced that the club has acquired defender Leonardo Barroso from Sporting CPB, their second team, via transfer. Barroso will occupy a U22 initiative slot and an international roster position. His contract will run through 2028 with a club option for 2029. So they've locked up this U22 player for 4 seasons already and a fifth season as a club option. And to me, good business. You want to take U22 initiative players, you want to develop them, and then you want to be able to either make them a star in your team or transfer them for some big bucks. And I think the Fire are looking at this as a player that they will be able to transfer and make some money on. Putting that in conjunction with the fact that it's their goal, probably by the time Barroso's contract's up in 2028, to get 5 homegrowns out on the pitch. We know that there have been a couple of defender homegrowns training with the first team, Cups being one of them, Hillette being the other. I think they're both defenders. I know one of them is center back. So the fact that now you have Barroso joining the club on a 4, possibly 5-year deal, he could be the guy that you develop and transfer in 2 to 3 seasons with that control, or even 3 to 4 seasons. And then the club that you transfer him to has 1 or 2 years of control left to negotiate a new contract with him. So that is a fantastic piece of business, getting a talent. But also, just like Sam Rogers had the connections with Gregg Berhalter, there are some connections with Barroso and the club. Let's continue to read on, and we get a quote from Gregg Berhalter now. We're very pleased to welcome Leonardo to the Fire. He's coming from an elite environment at Sporting, where he worked closely with Felipe Selakaya, who recently joined us as an assistant coach. There's the connection. One of Berhalter's new assistant coach coming over from Sporting B and now bringing with him one of their top prospects. We believe Leonardo has a very high ceiling, and we're confident he'll make an immediate impact. His skill set and mentality align well with our vision, and we're excited to see how he contributes to the future success of the club. End quote, Gregg Berhalter. So Barroso is currently 19 years old. He spent the last 2 seasons with Sporting CPB, of Sporting Lisbon. He's made 27 appearances for them. He was part of the B side that participated in the Premier League International Cup, making appearances in 3 matches there. He's played against Atletico, Southampton, Brighton Hove Albion. So he's got some good youth experience. He's got some good second team experience. Absolutely. Let's see, what else does this article say that we need to mention here? Oh, Barroso himself is quoted by saying, "I'm very happy to join the Fire. The club has ambitious goals and a very clear plan for 2025 and beyond. I'm ready to contribute and give my best on and off the field to help us succeed." End quote. Once again, we're hearing from a player that the plan for this club is part of the reason they decided to sign with the Chicago Fire. There is a short-term and a long-term plan in place, or so it would seem based on what we're hearing from anyone who's signing with or joining the club as a coach or as on the technical side of things. A little bit more on Barroso. He's represented Portugal from the U15 through U20 level, and has represented Portugal at the UEFA Under-17 Euros, getting them to the semifinals. So he's got some elite youth national team experience there. And again, just to recap, the Fire have signed defender Leonardo Barroso from Sporting CPB via transfer. He's 5'6", 158 pounds, born June 12th of 2005 from Setúbal, Portugal, and his last club, Sporting CP. So a lot going on the Chicago Fire back line. Now, it looks like we're going to have Jack Elliott and Carlos Terán be our starting center backs. And now we've got Rogers and Barroso as the 2 players to back them up. We've got Mauricio Pineda also, who can be a backup as a center back or as a defensive midfielder. I'm always kind of pushing him to step up alongside Kellen Acosta. I'd love to see them kind of work a 1-2, and that leaves Gutierrez free to push forward and join the attack and be more of a ball progressing, attack initiating midfielder. But we're talking about the back line here. And again, Gregg Berhalter hasn't neglected it. He's leaning on his connections within the USMNT community with his coaching connections. The new assistant coach, Silikaya, brings over Barroso from Portugal. So we've got a core of a center back situation here. And now we can look out on the wings, on the outside backs. You've got presumptively Suke as your starting right back and Gutman as your starting left back. If they're going to play a 4-man in the back, then you've got Chase Gasper and Ryan Dean as your outside backup backs. If you can follow where my mind is going with there. So it looks like they're in a decent spot across the back line, but of course, there's always room for improvement in MLS, whether domestically or internationally. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see a couple moves that are more defensive in nature, if not this winter window, then in the summer window, where they're kind of addressing needs, holes. And if they end up transferring Carlos Terán, if they can fill the gap that he would leave. But you'll notice, Chicago Fire fans, there's one name that I haven't mentioned so far as when we're talking about Chicago Fire defense, and that's Wyatt Ombserg, who's been just a favorite player of mine to watch over the last few years. I love how he reads the game, very smart player. I love how he stepped up, was always ready to play. When Terán went down with his injury a couple seasons ago, Ombserg was there and was doing very, very well in his role. And until he got his injury. And then under Klopas this last season, he fell out of favor, saw some time with CF2. I don't know where Klopas and Ombserg weren't on the same page, or where Ombserg wasn't on the same page with that coaching staff. But I think he was doing really, really well under CJ Brown and when Brown was taking over the defensive coaching duties. And I think Ombserg is just that guy you can rely on. He can be a starter in MLS, and he could be a backup on a really, really good team, and he can start on most other teams. And so I was wondering, as I'm reading all this news about Rogers and Barroso, like, what's going to happen to Ombserg? He was out of contract. They were talking about possible negotiations. Well, as just of earlier today, as of this morning on Tuesday the 14th, that question has been answered. The New England Revolution have signed Wyatt Ombserg as a free agent. He is on a 1-year contract for the 2025 season, and he's got a club option for 2026. So Wyatt Ombserg, 29 years old, 67 total MLS appearances, including 47 starts over 7 seasons with the Fire and Minnesota United. He was actually a first-round draft pick in 2018's MLS Super Draft after playing at Dartmouth College and was a 4-time Ivy League winner. So smart guy, collegiate pedigree, came up with a good team in Minnesota, or, got his MLS licks in, got his teeth cut in MLS on a good defensive team in Minnesota, and now proving himself with the Fire. He is back kind of home. He's from Maine with the New England Revolution. Caleb Porter is excited to have him as a veteran defender in the league. He points that out and will be adding depth to their group of central defenders. So that is where Wyatt Ombserg has ended up, and that will kind of answer the question of what is the Fire going to do with that back line. So I wish Wyatt well. I loved watching him play when he was here in Chicago. I hope he does great for New England, obviously not when they're playing the Fire, but I hope he continues to have a very fulfilling career and a full career with the Revolution and wherever he may end up after that. One other headline that I want to look at today as well comes also from an Eastern Conference team, the Philadelphia Union. It came out over social media a couple days ago. Nothing big reported. It just kind of came out as screenshots that Philadelphia Union had been given a 3-window transfer ban by FIFA, by the governing body of soccer internationally. And everyone kind of went, what? Where did this come from? How did this happen? Like, it's very, very rare for an MLS club with all our restrictive roster rules to run afoul of all these FIFA regulations. And we know it's a centralized league. It's a single entity. So there's people on the club level working on things, people on the league level working on things. Like, how did this happen? How did the Union get a transfer ban? And slowly over the last couple of days, there have been some news and details that have leaked in. And what happened was, as a lot of the people I worked with in the courthouse used to say, the Union's ban stems from not paying one of their recent signings, Jose Riasco, not paying his youth club $700. That's it. This all stems from a $700 payment that the Union missed. Now, Riasco is 20 years old. He signed with Union 2 in 2022 from Venezuela. He was with Deportivo La Guaria. Excuse my pronunciation there. But under FIFA rules, the youth club that developed him is also entitled to a portion of the transfer fee. I think it's still at 5%. So when the Union paid Deportivo La Guaria their transfer fee, they were supposed to take 5% of that, or however much it was, and pay that directly to his youth club, Mineros de Guiana. But that club never got their $700 fee. And eventually, one of their lawyers caught it, reported it to FIFA. FIFA instituted the ban. Now, reportedly, the Union have been working for months to try to get this sorted out and are getting to get the ban overturned. It turns out that they could not locate anyone from that youth club down in Venezuela to issue the payment to. That was really what was holding things up. Where do we send the check? Who do we make it out to? Where do we put it in the mail to? What are the wire instructions here? So that is the long and the short of it. Hopefully, once this money gets paid, the ban is overturned and the Union can continue on. But this is not a good look for Ernst Tanner, the GM, after getting rid of Jim Curtin. And now all of a sudden he's got a FIFA ban on his record, a transfer ban on his record, because he couldn't figure out who to pay the money to. Now, we know Tanner is taking full responsibility for this club. So this is going to warm up his seat a little bit. And this, combined with some negative Philadelphia Union results, is going to really look bad for him. And we'll see if the ownership values winning and appearances as much as they value him saving them money. So we'll see how it goes from there. One encouraging thing for the Union out of all of this is that I'm pretty sure this happened to the Galaxy not too long ago, and they had some sort of back pay that was owed to a player. It was about $4,500, if I recall the article correctly. And as soon as the Galaxy paid the player the back wages, cleared everything up with FIFA, they lifted the ban, and it wasn't a huge issue. But if you all remember, this is an ongoing issue with FIFA and a lot of clubs, and particularly it blew up in MLS with DeAndre Yedlin when his youth club Crossfire filed a lawsuit against MLS and the Sounders, because Yedlin was with his youth club Crossfire, signed with the Sounders, transferred to Tottenham. And when Tottenham paid MLS, because it's a single entity, they didn't pay the Sounders directly, paid MLS, and the Sounders got the money. MLS said, yeah, we'll give the 5% down to Crossfire. Well, they never got that money, and MLS and Seattle took the position that Yedlin was one of their homegrowns, one of their academy products, one of their youth players, that Crossfire didn't actually develop him and contribute to him getting sold off to and transferred to Tottenham. That legal battle went on several years, and in the end, I think FIFA's conflict resolution or sport of arbitration, whichever governing body, ruling judge, ruled on it, ended up finding against Crossfire, and they didn't get their money. So it was a long saga. I'm sure there should be some documentary out there. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe it'll scratch my legal itch as well as the soccer itch here, and do some kind of long form review of it. But that's something that MLS is not not unused to. I can't even think of a sentence right now. I've been flying a mile a minute here. It's not something the MLS isn't used to. So we've seen this before, and actually a lot of critics of Major League Soccer and their single entity, closed system, lack of pro, all that sort of thing, use this as an example by saying, as a result of MLS being a single entity, they're cutting out a lot of these youth clubs. The counterpoint that I have heard is that, well, these youth clubs, are professional organizations in and of themselves. They're paying coaches and staff and administrators, $50,000 to $70,000 a year salaries. Yedlin's family probably had to pay fees, or any kid who wants to play in a youth academy, a developmental club like that, and potentially have a pro career. They've been paying thousands of dollars every year in order to participate. So are they really losing the money? But at the end of the day, FIFA rules stipulate that the development club, the youth club, is owed a certain percentage of the transfer fee there. So that's what all this came down to. That's why the Union are technically on a transfer ban by FIFA until they get the $700 situation sorted out. All right, short episode today. Not too much detail into a lot of these signings. We'll see how things shake out. Just remember, USMNT is currently in camp. They have an upcoming friendly against Venezuela on January 18th at 2 o'clock Central. It's on TNT, Max, Peacock, Telemundo, Universo, so wherever you like to get your soccer and whatever language you like to consume your soccer. We are going to be putting out some more card opening videos. Keep a look out for those. Continue to grow the conversation with our fan Discord channel as well. I'll post that link on social media in a little bit so you can keep talking with all the other fans of the podcast. And as always, Fire fans, let's go Fire.